think when we look at dual force and the opportunity he offers from a calving ease, early growth, and acceptable stature combined with, elite marbling at 1.31, but when you look at his 1.49 ribeye, that's top 1% of the Angus breed, but it's truly unique from the standpoint of ribeye per hundredweight is so important as we get cattle with the carcass weights that we're reaching today, and especially Angus cattle. That's really what keeps us from having yield grade 4s and 5s, is having, sufficient muscle. It's ribeye per hundredweight. And so I think having all those things with calving ease and growth, marbling and muscle in the right components, and still having cattle that'll function so well in these environments, that's opportunity. And dual force offers opportunity that we have not yet seen to date in Angus bulls. And I think when you look at the opportunity to use him on hometown daughters with his combination of calving ease and growth and marbling and muscle and a stature that's, he's not a moderate bull, but he's not out of bounds. Days on feed and the price of corn, and a lot of times people get all worried about the cost of gain and those kind of things. And actually for cattle with genetics, this is truly an opportunity, because we've all been very proud, and when the national herd has got up to almost 80% choice, well, currently right now, this past week at National Beef, the average for the plant was 65% choice. So as an Angus breeder, to me, that's very, very low. I mean, it's very, very low. But that's because we're getting less days on feed. They're getting more current. And we all know as we look at the environment that, having the ability to reach certified Angus beef and prime, one, you have to have the genetics for that, and two, you have to be in the right environment for that. So as you get less and less days on feed, those cattle, more and more cattle of average genetics, are not going to reach even the choice grade. So when we go back to dual force and we look at his sire, Dual Threat, one of the good bulls in our history for calving ease and early growth, and really he's $1.25 or so for marbling and $1.25 for ribeye on Dual Threat. But his son, again back to John Crouch and like begets like, dual force, he really offers a unique opportunity at 1.31 for marbling. But here's the real important deal with his 1.49, so we'll call it $1.50 for ribeye. And again, we look at that yield grade and the ribeye per hundredweight and how important that is. And so then you look at all these other traits and you look at, some of the secondary traits that are harder to select for, but you look at the hair shedding, he's a top 10% bull for that, which would make sense because of Surefire and Dual Threat were very good bulls for shedding. You look at his PAP score, which those scores are harder to obtain. You have to be at altitude, but dual force is also in the upper percentiles, top 10% of the breed for pulmonary artery pressure test. And so those things are going to be beneficial in a multitude of environments at that high altitude. The top 15% for birth weight, and for calving ease, we look at his top 15% yearling growth. We look at his almost breed average for stature, and then we look at where he can fit in the equation of marbling and muscle. That's exciting, and I think when you look at dual force and his agility, and even when we look at feet, we talk a lot about feet in the industry now, and we've talked about it most of my life, and we've always looked at it as acceptable versus unacceptable, and we've been very hard on feet. If they're unacceptable, we cull them. And I think one of the things that I like a great deal about dual force, and a lot of these bulls, when we're taking foot scores and such, all cattle, they're pretty young and they haven't had a chance to see what they really are. But seeing Dual Threat as an older bull who worked at JLB Ranch in Douglas, Kansas, he had to work for a living. His feet were never touched. They were exceptional. And you look at, dual force, he was certainly a good-footed bull, sharp-toed, deep-heeled, and he's very agile, very calm. You look at his docility, upper percentile. He's just a cool dude. And so I think we put all those things together, form follows function. He's a bull that can really complement a lot of the pedigrees that we've talked about when you look at, say, the momentum descendants or the hometown descendants. He fits very well on there. And when we look at pedigree diversification, dual force being out of an early bird, which that's kind of old school. Early bird was, he was born in 2012, but that's a daughter of him, was his dam, and on back to the Objective 277L. Fun fact, and cow families, that goes back to the dam of Integrity. And, you know, Integrity was way back at the beginning of the century, and he was the elite bull of the breed for marbling and combined for muscle at that time and a moderation of stature. So I use all this to say that when I talk about dual force, he's an important bull as a quasi outcross or a skip step for us, but also that outcross with calving ease, early growth, marbling, muscle, and maternal function. We're a broken record. Discipline means doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like beget like means when we find the next generation that will do it better, we move to them. And that's what genomics allows us to do today so well. Genomics tells us that dual force is the next step in the evolution of what we need to do, and he's going to be a very high impact bull at Gardiner Angus Ranch. If you would like to order semen on any of these bulls, we would encourage you to email the Ashland Vet Center at AshlandVetCenter@gmail.com. And also there's a dedicated line where you can call 888-250-3707.